On February 11, after the last unsuccessful three-day assault on the Monastery Hill and the town of Cassino, the Americans retreated. After 2.5 weeks of the most severe fighting, the 2nd U.S. Corps was exhausted and defeated. The performance of the 34th Division of the U.S. in mountain battles is still considered one of the greatest feats accomplished by soldiers in the war. The division paid a heavy price for this. Its infantry battalions lost up to 80% of their personnel, with casualties totaling around 2,200 men. In the midst of the battle, in early February, General Fridolin von Zenger moved the 90th Motorized Division from the Garigliano area to the north of Cassino, fearing the exhaustion of the defending troops there. He exerted all his authority to convince headquarters to terminate the battle for Cassino and establish a completely new line of defense, a position located north of the site of the Allied landings at Anzio. Kesselring responded to his request with a refusal. At a critical moment, von Zenger committed the 71st Infantry Division to battle, while he left the 15th Tank Division in place for the time being. During the battle, there were several moments when favorable initial positions taken at the beginning of the fight, with greater insight and reasonable use of reserves, could have been turned into an absolute advantage and largely determined the outcome of the battle. Some historians blame these failures on the inexperience of General Clark. However, it is more likely that Clark was unable to pay attention to these details simply because he was tasked with an enormous number of responsibilities. He was responsible for both the assault on Cassino and the landing at Anzio. This point of view is indirectly supported by the impossibility of General Truscott meeting Clark during the Fourth Battle for Monte Cassino to discuss the complex situation at Anzio. While General Harold Alexander left command of the troops at Cassino and Anzio in the hands of one man and divided the front of the Gustav Line between the 5th American and 8th British Armies, Kesselring preferred to hand over command of the 14th Army at Anzio to General Eberhard von Mackensen, while the Gustav Line was entrusted to the commander of the 10th Army, Heinrich von Fittinghoff. While the 6th Army Corps of the United States, landed at Anzio, was under serious threat, pressure was being applied to Freiburg to carry out an operation to relieve the situation of the troops at Cassino. Therefore, due to the need to engage in combat operations simultaneously in several completely different locations, the Americans again went into battle unprepared. Additionally, the command of the Corps did not fully grasp the complexity of relocating the 4th Indian Division to the mountains north of Cassino and supplying it there. In those areas, the supply of troops. The only access to the mountains was via an 11 kilometers narrow mountain path that ran in close proximity to the monastery and was under fire from the German artillery station near the abbey. This area was later named Death Valley. The harsh conditions in which the 4th Division was placed were documented, in particular, by Major General Howard Kippenberger, the commander of the 2nd New Zealand Division. Freiberger's plan was a continuation of the first battle, an assault from the north, along the mountain ridges, and an attack from the southeast, along the railway lines, aimed at capturing the railway station on the other side of the Rapido, less than a kilometer south of the town of Cassino. If successful, the Liri Valley would be open to Anglo-American forces. However, Freiberger informed his commanders that, in his opinion, under the current circumstances, the chances of success in the battle were no higher than 50%.